How you doing? Brandon here, Rocky Mountain BioAg. Hey, we get a lot of questions that come in through the telephone, over email, people coming into our shop, people reaching out via social media, all types of ways about how to plant a new lawn. And it's a great question. A lot of people don't know because they either have a lawn that's existing or potentially they're moving in, say, to a new house, or they're trying to turn an area into a lawn and they need to know how to do it. And so with that being said, we like to do these videos to basically divulge this information out to everybody, show everybody or tell everybody, this is how we do it. This is what we suggest to do. And then it really helps out, a lot of people be able to figure out whenever they're in the battle of planting that new lawn or whatever it may be, how do I do it? I can reference the video back. I can figure it out. And hey, if you do have other questions after this video, please feel free to leave them down in the comments, or call us at 877-874-2334, or even shoot us an email, or stop in our shop. Either way, we're more than happy to help you out. We want you to be successful. So let's go ahead and jump into it. There's a couple of things that we have to look at. If you have an area that has never been planted before, that's one situation that we deal with. And another situation we deal with is, I have an existing lawn. I want to get rid of it. I want to plant a new lawn. Maybe a drought-resistant, eco-friendly lawn, or maybe I just want to plant, some Kentucky bluegrass, whatever it may be. But how do I do it? So there's two different ways that we approach that. I'm going to go over both of them. And at the first of this video, I'm just going to explain to you, if you have bare ground and you're looking to plant a lawn, say there's weeds on it even, what we have to do first is we have to get rid of those weeds. If that's the case, if you have weeds. Now, if you have a lawn, an existing lawn, we have to get rid of the lawn in order to plant a new one. So we have a couple of great organic herbicides. The first one called Final Sand. It's an herbicidal soap. It works great. As well as we also have another one called Avenger Organic Weed Killer. That's another one that works great. Different price points. Both products work amazingly well. So either way, if there's weeds on the area, or if there's an existing lawn, we have to get it taken care of. We have to, kill out the lawn or kill the weeds. After we do that, we either have to remove the lawn or remove the weeds and make sure that we have an area that is, free of debris, free of rocks. That's an important part, making sure those are raked up, especially if it's a new planting, really preparing a good seed bed for the new planting. Now, I will tell you, there's a couple of things that we have to look at, and it's always a good idea to run a soil test to find out, if there's any major deficiencies in your soil that we're going to need to address to make sure that the new planted seed germinates and establishes really, really strongly. So that's the first thing, and we have you covered there as well. We have an RX soil test kit by Rocky Mountain BioAg, which I'll leave down below, a link down below. Very simple to do. We ship it to you. You're able to get the box with the bag. It's a prepaid label on the box. You take your soil sample, which it does have great directions in there on how to do it. Put it in the bag, put it in the box, ship it off. Neatest part about it is results come to your email, results come to our email. We both then are on the same page of what we need to do to correct any issues or major issues that you may be facing in that soil before we do any planting, before we do anything else. So that would be the first thing that we would need to look at if you're wanting to go that route with doing the soil sampling. Now, with that being said, like I said, prep the seed bed. There's a few things that we need to look at. Number one, make sure all debris is removed. That's organic debris. So if there's an existing lawn and you've killed it off, we need to make sure that that lawn is removed from there. The roots, as much as we can remove. If there's weeds, we want to make sure all those weeds are removed. And hopefully there's no major amounts of weed seed there, in the actual the ground or laying dormant, where when we start to water it, we end up with weeds within our lawn, because then it's just it becomes kind of an issue. But that would be number one. So prep that seed bed well. Now, if that seed bed needs organic matter, there's a couple of ways to go about it. Locally, you can pick up a compost and add compost to that soil. What we suggest to do is we utilize a product called Dakota peat. It's a reed sedge peat. The pH is balanced. It's not sphagnum peat moss that has a low pH. This is a balanced pH. It's a reed sedge peat. We utilize, if we're trying to add organic matter into the actual soil profile, about 150 to 300 pounds per 1,000 square feet. And we get that incorporated about 3 to 4 inches. That would be the first thing. And when you're incorporating that, whether it's the compost or whether it's the Dakota peat, the thing is 3 to 4 inches down as we're raking it, as we're putting it into the actual soil. The thing that's great about it is at the end of the day, there's going to be rocks that come up. There's going to be things that we can continuously remove. After you get that done, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that seed bed is leveled out very nicely, ready to accept the actual seeding of the seed that you choose. Now, we have a couple of great seeds, and I'm going to go over that, and we're going to be getting more of them in stock. It's an important thing. We choose to carry drought-resistant type of blends because of the situations we're running into now with climate, with drought restrictions, with all types of things with watering. We want to try to be as eco-friendly as possible and have this lawn not only establish and just thrive, but have the soil really get a lot of good health in it, good soil health, which will hold good amounts of water where we're not having to water as often. So the first one that we always like to mention, and some people have heard of it, it's called a Pipolina Microclover. They're really teeny tiny clovers. They work great. If you plant an entire lawn in that, it's called an eco lawn, microclover eco lawn. A lot of people love it. It's a lush green. They're gorgeous. Plus, they fix nitrogen. There's a lot of benefits to them. They fix nitrogen from the atmosphere, those microclovers. So that's one way to go. The other one that we do have is a RMBA drought-resistant turf grass blend, which has a couple of different fescues, a creeping red fescue and a hard red fescue, as well as a 5% Pipolina Microclover blended into that. So it just depends on which way you want to go. If you want to go with a full microclover lawn, or if you want to go with a drought-resistant turf grass blend, we have those two for now. We will be getting more in stock, so keep your eyes open. Also down below, I'll leave those links just so you can easily get to them. So then once you have your seed chosen, you have the amount of seed that you need. The next step would be to spread the seed. But before we do that, we like to make sure that soil health is built. We utilize a program which we developed called the Manna ABC Lawn and Landscape Care Program. That program is a very simple program to make sure your soil is operating properly, that the seeds have the best chance of germination and establishment possible. So that's the next thing. If you choose to utilize that, which we highly suggest you do, what we would do is we would actually, and there's a couple of parts to it. There's a couple of dry parts to it. One's called dry, Manna Dry Lawn and Landscape, and the other one's called Manna Hydrate Lawn and Landscape. If you utilize the entire program, you'll utilize both of those dry products as well as 2 different liquid products, which should really get the soil operating very healthy and thriving. So what you would do is you would get your seed. You would get, depending on the size of your lawn, the proper size of Manna ABC Lawn and Landscape Care Program package, and we would take all of the dry material and we would mix it together, and we would mix it with the seeds. And we utilize that dry portion of that program as a carrier for the seeds. Now, that would be the first step. This is the important part here. A couple of different ways here that we can look at it. We can use a drop spreader if you want to, which is the best way to seed a lawn, or you can use a broadcast spreader. Either way. A broadcast spreader does throw the seed out, so you don't have as much control. That control is important because you spent a lot of money on seed. You're going to spend, a lot of money on making sure that this lawn is pristine and beautiful. Might as well get the proper spreader, which is, like I said, it's a drop spreader. We don't sell any spreaders. You can easily pick them up at a big box store and utilize those. At this point, like I said, we don't sell any type of spreader. So I would definitely take a look at that if you can. If you have a drop spreader, great. If not, that's the one I would purchase over an actual broadcast spreader. Once you get that done, you mix up all those seeds, the Manna Lawn and Landscape Dry, as well as the Hydrate. You put that all into your spreader, and then you spread it in a grid pattern, okay? And it's always best to keep the setting low on your spreader. Do a couple of test spreads, making sure you see like what rate the actual seed and the Manna Dry Lawn and Landscape and Hydrate Lawn and Landscape is dropping out of the spreader at. just so you can make sure that you don't make any mistakes and not have enough seed and materials to do the entire lawn area. So then what you would do is you do around the outside edges first, then we usually run a grid pattern going one way and then the opposite direction. You continuously do that, and then even diagonally if you have to. If you have more left over, we want the most even spread possible. So that would be some of the first things that we would do, getting that material out. You're all set up then, at least you have your seed spread. Now, with that being said, these seeds are you only want to plant them about 1/4 of an inch deep. This part of it is very important because if those seeds are planted too deep in the soil profile, they will not germinate, or the germination time will take a long time. And, some of them won't germinate just because they're too deep within the soil profile. So 1/4 inch is what we like to see. And it's important that we get those seeds covered over as well. That's an important part. And we use that same Dakota peat. That's what we suggest to cover the seeds over. We cover those seeds over with about 1 to 2 bags, which is about 24 to 48 pounds of that Dakota peat per 1,000 square feet. That's what we suggest to do. There's many other ways to do it as well. There's, you can use biodegradable like burlap sack. They have that, which is a biodegradable like matting that you can purchase. You can even use like a barley straw, something like that would actually cover the seeds over. It's important we do that. And the reason why is due to the fact that there's birds and there's wind. Plus the seeds have to be covered 1/4 inch. So those are the things that we need to look at when we're doing it. So after we get that portion of it done and the seeds are covered, and some people even just choose, if you don't want to cover the seeds, they'll take a lawn roller, put very little weight in the actual roller, and actually roll the area out that's being planted or that has been planted. That will also press the seeds down, make good seed to soil contact, and then you'll have great results that way as well. But you just want to make sure that you get those seeds in place, covered up, or kind of pressed into the soil, no more than 1/4 of an inch. Next, what we do is we come in with the Manna liquid lawn and landscape. That portion of it, we utilize something called a hose-in sprayer. It's by Chapin. There's a 16 ounce and a 32 ounce. There's a couple of different ones that we offer that we found fits our customers' needs best. Down below, you'll have the links for those as well. And what you'll do is you'll take those. And the other thing as well, which is another thing which is really important when we're doing this, is something to dechlorinate the water or take the chlorine out of the water. We want to just put fresh water on those seeds as soon as we spray this stuff out through that Chapin, the Manna liquid. So we have something called a HydroLife C85. And what that is it's an inline water filter. Very simple to use. It screws right onto the house spigot. You put your water hose right onto it, and then the Chapin on the end of your water hose. Then we put the proper amount of that liquid into the Chapin hose and sprayer, which on these new plantings, we're using between 4 and 8 ounces per 1,000 square feet. You can, and it just depends on soil health and things like that, all the way up to 8 ounces. That's probably where you'll be most likely, especially if you have sandy soil or soils that don't have a lot of organic matter in the profile. It's important that we use a little bit more of that to help really build that soil health. We put that in there and then we spray it out evenly over the area. Now, a lot of people say, well, where do I set my Chapin hose and sprayer to? The most important thing is that we get the amount of material that we're spraying out evenly spread per 1,000 square feet. So on the top of those Chapin hose and sprayers, there's a dial. That's in tablespoons. 2 tablespoons equal 1 ounce. That 1 ounce would be mixed with 1 gallon of water. So if you're spraying 8 ounces of material out and you put 1 ounce per gallon of water of the Manna liquid, then what you do is per 1,000, you would spray out 8 gallons of water. That is too much, I'll just let you know. So will you dial that up to maybe a 4, which would be 2 ounces? We put 4 gallons out. We just want to make sure that that material gets spread evenly over the area that has been planted and the seeds covered. So after we get that done, the liquid, we can go ahead and let that kind of dry down enough where you can at least access the area again. And last but not least, we put the Manna Flora, lawn, and landscape out. Now, you can't mix the liquid and Flora together because of pH issues. The liquid has a low pH, which can cause issues with the Flora. Now, there are ways to fix that utilizing pH up, which will bring the pH of the Flora or of the liquid up, which then you can mix those two together and spray out if you desire. It just takes extra steps, which we can walk you through it if you desire to do that. So, and we do have pH up as well if you do need it. But next, what we would do is, and this is splitting the two of them, we would utilize that Flora. We would do the same thing, 8 ounces per 1,000 square feet, Chapin hose in sprayer, evenly spray the area that's been planted out, and now you're almost done. Last but not least, we need to talk about watering. I said last but not least on the Flora, but really the most important part is the watering of this newly planted lawn that you've done. We get, I would say probably 90% of it is it's not germinating well. I don't know how much, the water, something's going on. It's just not coming up. Well, 9 times out of 10, 90% of the time, it's because people just don't know how much to water newly planted or newly seeded lawns. It's very important that we get the proper amount of water on there, not too much, not too little. And this is all going to be dependent on your climate, not only your climate, but your soil health. So this is something that the customer or the homeowner or, the contractor that's doing it, they have to know and keep an eye on how moist that area gets. So we like to see, whenever we're doing it, we like to see these seedings being done in the springtime or in the fall. And that's an important part. The reason why is because temperatures are either lower, so we're not getting as much evaporation, or not only that, but also, and it's both of those. So in the springtime, the temperatures are lower, but you don't want to go too early. In the fall time of the season, the temperatures are starting to taper off and we're not getting so much heat, which is another good time. You want to think a nice, warm, almost like tropical type of conditions for good germination, no matter where you're at. So that just is dependent on your zone, on your last frost dates and first frost dates. So you have to keep that in mind. Now, when we're doing the watering, we like to see it done 4 times a day if possible. 2 in the morning or before lunch, 2 in the afternoon. And it might be less than that. It could be only 3 times a day. This is where I say it's important. We want short durations, 10 to 15 minutes, something like that, maybe a little bit less than that. But we want those durations to be spread out where we keep the area nice and moist, but not flooded and not septic, meaning too much water. Water standing, seeds can drown just like people can drown. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. It's very important. We want to keep just a nice, moist environment for those seeds to germinate in and to spring up and just thrive. So it's something to definitely think about. Now, the germination periods, it depends on the seed. Microclover seeds are usually a little bit longer, up to 14 days. Even we've seen it as far out as 21 days. And grass seeds are a little bit faster usually. Now, when we're utilizing that Manna ABC Lawn and Landscape Care Program, we're seeing germination rates at a much quicker rate. Sometimes with even 3 days to 7 days for all seeds. It just depends. And it really depends on the climate that you're in, the health of your soil, all of those things. But it definitely helps with germination and establishment. So keep that in mind when we're getting this up and going. Now, if you get it germinated, it comes up. You want it to grow for about 21 days. We've seen somewhere around in there, maybe a little longer, potentially shorter, just depending on how well it germinates and comes up and how vigorous it looks and how healthy it looks. Then we'll want to put our first mowings on it, and then you'll want to also change your watering. The watering of it is very important throughout, even after the establishment. You want to go ahead and make sure that those soils stay moist but not saturated, allowing it to continuously grow up. Now, last but not least, through all of this, I think we've went over everything on, how to plant that lawn, what to do. Something to think about. If you do plant microclover or the drought-resistant turfgrass blend with microclover in it, there's no more spraying your lawn unless you spot spray it, because that microclover, it's great. It fixes nitrogen. It builds soil health. There's so many benefits to it. but it is considered a broadleaf weed per se. So at the end of the day, what we run into is if you spray it out, it's going to kill the microclover. Spray it, we have a product called Fiesta. It's a great product, but like I said, it's going to need to be spot sprayed, not blanket sprayed, or you will kill the clover. So with all that being said, then the last thing that we always like to mention is we utilize the ABC or the Manna ABC Lawn and Landscape Care Program 3 times a year in most cases. Make it very simple for you on our website. It's great. We have it set up on a subscription plan where it would just ship it to you 3 times a year, spread out. And what it is if you do that, for 1, you're going to save money. For 2, you're going to have an application in the early spring, 1 midsummer, like around July 4th, and then the last one is in the fall. If we can build the soil health enough, we can start to remove applications of that. That's all you need to make sure that your lawn is thriving and healthy, that program that we've developed. So if you get your soils thriving, then what ends up happening, and this is the great part about it, at the end of the day, we remove, say, the middle application. And then as the health of the soil continues to build, we remove another application. So then you're only down to 1 a year. And you're spending more time enjoying your lawn and not working over your lawn. And then you'll get to a point where the soil is operating so well that at the end of the day, you remove all of the applications, your lawn becomes self-sustaining or sustaining. And we only see some people put out the Manna Flora Lawn and Landscape, and that's all they're using in the spring in those 3 applications. And their lawn is absolutely gorgeous. So I hope that helped out. I hope that answered a lot of questions. If you do have more questions, do not hesitate. Please call us, email us, whatever it may be, post it down in the comments. We'll definitely get to you. We'll help you out as much as we can. All the products that I did mention on here, I'll leave links to so you can easily access them. And, like I said, we're here for our customers. We want to make sure that they're taken care of, and even not our customers, just people that are looking to plant a lawn. We get a lot of questions on it. So again, thanks a lot for your time. If you have questions, like I said, 877-874-2334. Call us. You can email us at support@rockymountainbioag.com, or just leave a comment down here in the bottom of this video. Thanks a lot. I hope that answered all your